Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're recording.
Okay, so did you hear what we're doing?
You know, it's funny because I said, oh, this is a non-controversial. I can use the facility.
Really, you never say that. I'm sorry, we all have to take break, but so we wanted to, we said the wrong amount of motion, so we're reconsidering.
Yeah, I think it's basically a scrivener's error.
Yeah, we haven't come.
Sure.
If there's a possible, if there's a mistake that everybody agrees on. You just have to unanimous consent, you can reopen it.
Okay, so, okay, calling the meeting back to order is 9:25. Village attorney, the last thing we left off on is we voted to reconsider, item 9, a motion
9E.
related to 9E, and so just advise us.
Yes,
what
and
we
I
do at
apologize
this moment.
again, I thought there was a non-controversial portion where I could quick run and come back, I apologize, but there is a provision for that if there's an honest and mutual mistake.
We've already voted to reconsider.
And yes, absolutely, that's appropriate,
And then what?
it's essentially a scrivener's error. So if everyone votes, if there's unanimous consent to reconsider, then you can go back into it and just redo the motion with the change.
So just make a motion with the changed amount?
Is there unanimous consent?
Yeah, very voted.
So yeah, now we're reopening that and then just move to amend it to.
You move to
reflect
amend?
Reflect the proper amount in these votes.
So you need to move to amend? That's
Well,
what.
I just think, my thought process in that would be, it would just be a little bit easier for someone to follow that might be following the minutes that wasn't at the meeting. They could see that there was a motion to reconsider based upon, just a math error in the numbers. And then someone would take the underlying now existing motion and say, okay, I just moved to amend the number to X. And then you can just do that.
Okay, so make us the motion. And trustee
I'm
Warren?
just gonna make the motion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I move to amend the number in the previous motion from $132,052.50 to $139,637.50.
Second.
So a motion from trustee Warren, a second by trustee Carpenter. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Now it's amended, and I'll vote on this, technically vote on the amended motion.
Okay, now it's amended, you vote on the amended motion. And the amended motion would just be same exact motion as before.
Yep. Do
Okay?
you want, is there any need for me to read it?
Nope, so I need a motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Our next item on the agenda is 9F. Consider award of contract for 2020 manhole rehabilitation project. Program.
Again, an annual project considered to be maintenance funded through the sewer utilities operating budget. The low bid is Medina Construction, who also performed work under the 2019 contract.
I do have a question I had asked prior. It's for Mark. I just remember a while back when we were doing long-range planning, I don't know which year, but it was determined that we need a significant amount of manhole replacements, a significant dollar amount, I would say, and I remember specifically that it was like after we're done with X, we're going to start aggressively addressing them. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do remember, I think, the general gist of that conversation, and my recollection of that was as we transition away from sewer lining, we would start moving into manhole rehab.
Yes. And that's what we're doing now?
And that's what we're doing now, and since it's utility funded and not debt funded, it doesn't show up in the long-range financial plans. There's a focus on debt cost programs. But that's the transition we were talking about a few years back.
And has the funding, so when does the funding for lining end? In a couple of years?
There's,
They never will. Okay, I thought there was like.
Well, we're
a program
self-funding
start.
lining at this point too.
I just thought that, you know, in a program, it tells you here you stop funding, you're done.
Yeah, no, it's really more of a staff resource management.
And so
Balance,
has the
yeah.
manhole funding increased or decreased, or does it stay the same every year so far?
last year was the first year we did a manhole program.
Okay, so we just started.
We did a program of a similar size this year, so it's essentially the same.
The same, and we'll just continue until we have another program that drops off to increase it? That's all I was asking.
We have historically had an amount between 200,000 and 250,000 allocated for these types of maintenance activities since I've been here. So it's just a consistent funding source that we use for
Okay.
these activities.
It must have been that it showed up in a long-range plan in future years for debt. And that,
Yeah, I
guess that has
think it was in past years, it used to be on that schedule and,
Yeah.
and we dropped it off that schedule once the utility had sufficient resources to fund it itself
so
without
we no longer
funding
have
for it.
plans to fund by that. Okay, thank you.
I would make a motion to award a unit price contract for the 2020 manhole rehabilitation project to Gradina Construction in the amount of $42,605.50.
I'll second that.
What did you say the amount was?
42,605.
Is
That's right, promise.
Oh, no, right. I just thought you said 250,000, so it was like the standard. But it's more
But
like,
that's a combination of the manhole lining and the main line pipe.
okay. All right, so we have a motion, and did we have a second? By trustee Ward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Move on to 9G, consider resolution 2020-04 providing for the sale of approximately $3,590,000 of general obligation refunding bonds, series 2020A. Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. Just a quick introduction to that topic. Each year, staff, along with our financial advisors, evaluate our existing debt, which may have provisions for callable coupons, usually within the last 7 to 10 years of a bond. There'll be different call provisions. We have identified 2 of our bonding issues that are callable and whose future coupon rates are significantly higher than the market rates that we could if we reissued those today. The result is a interest savings over the remaining life of each of those bonds. So we're bringing forward the opportunity to go ahead and refund those, or as a previous resident pointed out to me, refinance those debt obligations at the lower interest rates, which should result in an anticipated savings of over $200,000 for the village over the next 5 years.
So we should expect by the end of this year, 5 into 200,000 is what, 40,000?
It will change our master debt service
Would
schedule
that go
for
into
next year.
capital reserves?
So that's a debt service item.
Oh, so you just don't borrow for it?
Well, the debt service schedule is levy funded, so it would reduce our need to levy for those debt service items
This year?
next year's budget,
It doesn't affect this year's budget at all?
not this year's budget.
Even though we're refined debts, we're not getting any savings in 2020?
We've made our payments this year on these bonds, so it's really just rescheduling interest and future principal payments.
I'll move to approve resolution 2020-04, providing for the sale of approximately $3,590,000 general obligation refunding bonds, series 2020A.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mentes, second by trustee Bonner. Just for clarification, I'm sorry. These are our new financial advisors, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. And secondly, so we will not achieve any savings by refinancing these bonds in 2020. We will not receive any savings from what we thought?
It's gonna be extremely small dollars, to the point where we would just use that as an adjustment to what we would need to levy next year.
So you'd carry it forward. I'm just trying to figure things out. Okay. All right, so we
I
have,
think it's under $20,000 compared to the
okay.
$1.8 million.
Numbers.
20,000 is a lot. It's canoe launch. Okay.
It is, we should be, it's $200,000 in savings
It's
for our
great.
taxpayers. So these are all good things,
Right.
these bids coming in low, we're talking pretty decent money for this.
I just want, yeah, I'm ecstatic. I just never know where it
No,
comes
you'll see
in.
that carry forward in next year's budget
Okay,
discussion.
that's what I was asking.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Motion, trustee Moore?
Oh, no, no, it's
Oh.
stretching my hands.
We have a motion.
That's the wrong way.
If you can, keep your hands below the desk. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say. It's a roll call. Thank you, Tyler.
You're welcome. Trustee McKay,
Yes.
trustee Maher,
Aye.
trustee Amenta,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Carpenter,
Aye.
trustee Backers.
Yes.
President Rosen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you, Anderson. Our next item on our agenda is 9H. Consider Resolution 2020-05 providing for the sale of approximately $835,000 taxable general obligation refunding bond series. Oh, please explain.
Same thing, that's the second issue we're going to be refunding, so we've got two resolutions going forward. They could not be combined because of the way the original bonds were issued. Bond counsel would not recommend combining the issues, so it just requires separate resolutions to kind of do the same thing with the other bond issues, so.
And as it's like a refinance, so
Yes.
a citizen had asked this and I could not answer. So it's basically just saying, we're gonna pay off these bonds, it's some money we have, and then we're gonna pay for something other bonds, and they're gonna have a lower interest rate.
Right, we're just going to swap out the debt at a lower interest rate.
Okay.
I move approval of resolution 2020-05, resolution providing for the sale of approximately $835,000 taxable general obligation refunding bonds, series 2020B.
Second.
So motion by trustee Maher, second by trustee Menta. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
This will be another roll call.
Oh, yes, hello, never mind.
Trustee Backers,
Yes.
Not
trustee
calling.
Carpenter,
Yes.
trustee Warren,
Yes.
trustee Amenta,
Aye.
trustee Maher,
Aye.
trustee McKay,
Aye.
President Rosen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, we have, next item is 9I, J.I. I. Consider reimbursement resolution 2020-06 declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing.
Yeah, I'll follow up on this, just a brief reminder for the record that the village's typical practice is to hold off issuing debt for even year projects until after the June 30th cycle, so that when the debt is issued, the first principal and or interest payments will not be due until the next budget cycle. So we can budget appropriately for that. Plus, we will not incur interest costs in advance of some of these construction projects, which are just now getting underway. However, as a matter of protocol, we do need to pass a reimbursement resolution for, generally speaking, the maximum amounts of those projects that will be funded with the bonds we'll issue later this year, so that those proceeds can be used to pay for those bills. The interim costs will be paid out of reserve funds in the current year, which will be replenished with the bond proceeds when those bonds are issued and received later this summer.
So these are expenditures that we have approved in the long-range plan for 2020?
These are 2020 projects, right? That have been approved in the long-range plan in previous years and in the 2020 budget cycle.
And, okay, and there, so if you open up the long-range plan, you'd see this amount of work for 2020?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, any further questions?
I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-06, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing.
Second.
Motion by trustee Maher, second by trustee McNabb. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
This will be
It's
another
a roll call. It's a roll call.
I'll start with trustee
Fish mix
Menta,
up.
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Carpenter,
Aye.
trustee Bachers,
Yes.
trustee McKay,
Aye.
trustee Maher,
Aye.
President Rosette.
Yes.
Voted 7-0. Approved 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, patience with us. The next item on our agenda is new business J, 9J. Consider policy number 37, signs, objects, and communicative structures on public property. Committee, did this go to committee? Oh, trustee McKay, can you let me know the vote?
Yes, so we voted unanimously to move this to the full board for consideration. We had several, I'm sorry, my computer battery died, so I don't have the memo open in front of me, but we had like 1 million meetings on this, and, okay, I think it's better, yeah. No, I'm not beating, we had a lot, I mean, this, you all recall, I mean, this was started in fall of 2017, and it was a really, really great discussion and a lot of community input. And so what the committee arrived at is the policy that's before you for consideration tonight, which I'm actually going to refer back to Tyler to point out what we ended up changing, but it's essentially status quo.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to say in advance of this, that the Human Relations Commission, as you may recall, became before us and made a request that even though a Christmas tree is deemed by the courts deemed a secular object or decoration and is allowed, or it doesn't constitute a religious decoration, that they would ask that the village go that much further and just not have that either. And so we contemplated on how to reflect that in a policy that was kind of like manageable and actually we had a lot of really good discussion, and I'll let the committee weigh in on that, add to it. But what we did do was to say that we would like the wishes of the HRC to be recognized moving forward and by future boards, and that the village can always decide what to do. They don't have to put up a Christmas tree, they don't have to put up Christmas lights. They can put lights on trees, you know, it can be handled a variety of ways. And so we asked that the Human Relations Commission request and letter and minutes of all those discussions be included in the internal policy so that it would move forward and be acknowledged. And I think with that, I'll open it up to the other committee to fill in what I missed, and then Tyler.
And one thing I wanted to add in there too, or that we decided to add in there was, you know, the village manager coming to us with any kind of substantial changes within what we're putting up, because I think we want to know about that, so we can make the decision at the time whether these changes to decorations are something that we approve or not, whether or not it's secular or not secular. We just want to know if there are changes to the status quo of what we're doing.
So an example of that might be that Howard Park Lodge wants to wrap lights around the trunks of trees for winter weddings or something like that. And so that would be something that would come before the board for consideration. And I think that just as a reminder, this is public areas, so private areas can, and even in the commercial district and the private premise can be any type of decoration. So Tyler, is there anything else?
Those are the main highlights. Those were the two main things between your meeting and yours.
And Tyler, one thing, this aligns generally with, you did some, I want to cite you, you did some research too, so I think you put together you did some comprehensive research and all this.
Yeah, we just looked at communities in the Milwaukee County metropolitan area, so, you know, they handle a little differently, but the majority of them follow federal case law. So that's what's included in the policy in front of you today.
Trustee Carpenter?
But those communities don't have a Christmas tree on public property.
it's 50-50 on who does and who doesn't. A lot of communities that do partner with a private group or that for the, so kind of similar to what we do in the bid. So that part would be consistent. But, you know, as we mentioned under federal case law, a Christmas tree would be included, but that's, I think, one of the reasons why the Community and Business Relations wanted to include the policy position statement from the Human Relations Commission, so that, you know, 5 or so years afterwards, if we're revisiting the policy, that board at that time was aware of what the policy position was of the HRC.
Trustee Menta and then Carpenter.
So I just want to clarify then, if we adopt this policy, we would be going forward with the same as we have been doing. So we would still be,
That's the intent.
okay.
I have a lot of questions. Trustee Carpenter.
Yeah, I really feel strongly with what the HRC's recommendation, and as a Jewish person, I understand the Supreme Court's viewpoint, that it is a Christmas tree is secular, but that's something that I don't agree with, and if we're not, if we're not allowing everybody to put up something, I really do feel strongly that there should not be a Christmas tree on public property.
Trustee Menta.
I want to bring up a resolution that we passed, Resolution 2017-08, the Resolution for Justice and Dignity, where we say, whereas the village of Shorewood prides itself on being a progressive community, these values are evident in its high-quality schools, thriving businesses, engaged community, and a population that is increasingly reflective of the diversity of our nation. I'll just fast forward. By following these guidelines, the village of Shorewood ensures that it shall consistently embrace people of any race, religion, national origin, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, sexual or gender identity, or disability. What it means to embrace people of any race or religion, I guess that's up to interpretation, but I think the gist of this resolution was that we feel that we're a progressive community, that we are, we're not a Christian community, we're not a white community, we're not a male community, we're not a heterosexual community, that we're accepting of people along all those dimensions, and that all those people should feel comfortable, welcomed, and at home in Shorewood. And I think that is that whole consideration was part of our creating the Human Relations Commission. Those similar considerations went into the HRC's consideration of this issue and recommendation that we not have a Christian symbol on public property at the holidays. So I have to agree with Trustee Carpenter. To be consistent with what we've said our values are, I can't vote in favor of this policy.
I'm not even there yet. I'm still on page 1, the memo. What I don't understand is it kind of contradicts itself. First, when we were going through the communication plan, we got rid of the words affiliated with the municipality, and there was a reason, because it could be, who is that? Is that business district? Is that, and so we had this whole discussion. And now we're doing it again and not doing it in the same fashion. So I just feel like we just had this discussion, and so the first paragraph completely contradicts what we decided in the community plan. So that's one. And I'm not understanding the difference of, currently we have a special privilege process for anything that needs to be, or any request to put something in the public right away. Is that just for permanent public right away? Like permanent things in our right away? A special privilege permit?
No, because the summer seating is not permanent.
Right,
It's a special
so,
privilege permit.
and if you wanted to do a big sign, or one of the businesses wanted to put out a table for them to do work, I can't remember her name. So we already issue, we already take care of that, and we allow it by permit. So by special privilege. And that's in public property. Is there a difference in paragraph 2? Are we trying to make a difference between public property and right-of-way?
Do you want me-
Oh, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to start, Nathan? I think.
Well,
Yeah.
it's up to you.
And I could read you
Yeah,
a reading.
do you want me to comment on the affiliated with the municipality?
Yeah,
Because we
you
do,
both.
yeah, we define that, and what was agreed upon in the community and business relations, is that means all departments in the village, the library, and all municipal boards and or committees created pursuant to state statute or local ordinance, and then including but not limited to the bid and the community development authority.
Well, they're in the state statutes, so there's no reason to even reference them. Right? I'm just saying, does that include the schools?
No, because they're not, no, otherwise schools would be specified in that definition. So that's my response to that. As far as the special privilege permit, what we're doing is we're stating anyone that's wanting to put anything in the public right of way would have to file a special privilege permit. That includes the Summer Sounds or Shorewood Farmers Market. Any of those events would have to go through that process in order to have something in the public right of way for the village to consider.
Okay.
And that sign, if you're in the second paragraph, it states that it has to be within 24 hours and then taken down, and that nothing would be allowed over 24 hours.
It says posting a sign, symbol, or structure on public property for more than 24 hours will not be allowed. Anyone who's supposed to sign, symbol, or structure in public right of way for under 24 hours has to obtain a special privilege. But we do allow over 24 hours by special privilege in the public right of way. Currently.
I would refer to BART on, I don't know what our current policy, I mean, but this is the,
I had asked Rebecca to attach the special privilege permit, what that is, because Trustee Mento, you brought this up at one point. And so I'm just going to go back to paragraph 1.
this
Affiliated,
is just a sign, symbol, or a
Right.
communicate structure.
I understand, a sign. So,
So what's an example? I'm trying to think of an
farmer's
example
market,
that.
let's go farmer's
Right,
market.
so this is changing that policy.
What's the policy now? No, I'm serious, because I asked
Once
Rebecca
again,
some question.
I don't-
Can I say something, please?
No,
I don't know what the policy is right now.
But I asked a question, and then yes, Trustee Bachcroft, you'll be next. That's where I cannot vote for this, because I don't know what we're changing from existing policy.
Okay,
I would say,
Trustee Bachcroft?
can we either do one of two things? One is have this at the beginning of a meeting so that we
Sure.
still have a closed session, because we go through the same song and dance every time about this. And then,
No.
yes, this is like the 20th meeting we've had on this. So, anyway, that's all I gotta say.
Well, you have another suggestion.
Did you want to defer the items?
Move to defer.
I was gonna offer that we could take it back to committee. You know, we did get comments from trustees and the public, but if there's something that's come up that's, and I also. think
Let's
if you
move it
wanna-
back to committee and invite the president to the committee.
And also, we can revisit, I mean, basically what this boils down to is, if we have no decorations, it means no lights at the outlying tree, like, that's what it boils down to. And I'm comfortable going there, and so we could vote and, you know, it would fail tonight, or we can take it back to committee and.
Well, I move to defer the item to the next village board meeting, or when available, the next available village board meeting agenda. And in the meantime, maybe I can just meet with staff to get the questions answered? Okay. Because I don't believe it's all.
Second.
Did you say second? Okay.
Leah, let's just vote.
Motion and second. Just to be clear though, I'm not even, I'm just talking that the inconsistencies that I see here and the need to understand special privilege permits is something that I've never considered before. Like, we always talked about the religious part, so. Nathan, did you have anything?
All I was gonna say, I think I can answer this really quickly. The paragraph that starts, this policy does not apply to, all that's saying is it's recognizing that there's other things in the village code, such as if somebody gets a special privilege permit to have the Packer party in the street for an afternoon during the Packer game and close the street off, there's probably gonna be signs that they're gonna have up related to the event, and then they're gonna be taken down after the event. It's just saying the policy doesn't apply to that because you're not violating the general rule by having.
Right, I get that.
So that's all
Well, the
that.
farmer's market is simple, that's there for more than 24 hours. Anyways, I can ask staff, I just don't know what current practice is compared to what future practice is going to be. I don't know what changes. So, okay, so we have a motion to defer and a second. Any further discussion? Did you get the motion?
I don't have a second.
I second
Will you second it? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right.
Yay.
We are on to reports of village officials. Where am I? Is it me?
You're first.
Oh, I have no report, except thank you for trustee Warren for filling in at the last meeting. I appreciate that. Glad to give you that experience. A lot? Okay, no, I'm joking. But no, I just wanted to make sure that committee members remember, and anybody taking notes for committees, I noticed in the packet again that the votes, if it's just for discussion purposes, no vote taken, if the secretary or whoever's taking the notes in committees can write that, no vote, no vote is taken, this is discussion only, that would help immensely, because I'm just, Nathan's provided a memo, which Nathan, I appreciate if you could send back out to the board. It's a prior memo about minutes and for committees, as long as we record those votes or part of the discussion in the minutes here, we don't necessarily have to take as many in committees. So anyhow, always please ensure that you take the vote, the minute takers is recording the vote, or there was no vote. That's all I have for me. Any other trustees? Yes, trustee Walker.
We had a League of Wisconsin Municipalities quarterly meeting this last week. It was, we did the exec director's review, but in addition to that, we went to our legislative plan, which I'll share more next time. I'll see if I can get a memo from Kurt. And a lot of alternate options for, shifting the burden of funding municipal governments from the property taxes, and looking at, it's an ongoing charge, but as you all know, Wisconsin is the most heavily reliant on property taxes to fund our government, and that's not sustainable. So anyway, and then we also had the state treasurer was there. It was a really good meeting. So, and let's see, I'm too tired to think of anything else.
Oh, the good news, if I wanted to just add to that, the good news is at the ICC meeting, Wauwatosa, I don't know if you're keeping up with it, the city of Wauwatosa won multiple other cases for the big dark strawberry.
Yep.
And that's one of the first communities around our state that has had enough, they paid enough money, like hundreds, almost $1 million, in lawyer fees, which they got back, but they did it for us. We needed a loss leader, and so I'm really pretty excited about that, and so is the mayor, of Wauwatosa.
Rebecca, do you have a copy of that case?
There were 3, I think there's like 11 suits, but I think today there was one like 3 or something.
I don't have a copy.
And Kathy was at a meeting too.
It would be very cool.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's very exciting for us, for all of the state and our residents. Any other trustee that has a report? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to village manager.
Sure. 2 items on the agenda tonight. First, just want to update you, there's one item that the board had requested to discuss, which were options for village board and committee code of conduct and code of ethics, including online and digital behavior of elected and appointed officials. It was agreed the village board would proceed with this item until approval of chapter 4 and 5 of the communication plan. We anticipate that approval to occur in March. Proactively, because this is a meaty topic and one that I think it's really helpful if we all start with the same ground base of information on. I've invited the league. They've agreed to come to the village and provide an educational session on both with the village board. The session would provide a starting point and allow you as board members to provide directions on next steps in terms of how to proceed on this item, as there can be a lot of divergent viewpoints.
Can I just ask you, you had mentioned 2 things that you asked them to talk about first. They were ethics and code of conduct, is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay.
So, that date, they are available to come here on Monday, April 20th, so a committee of the whole will be scheduled prior to our regularly scheduled board meeting. And we'll be scheduling that at an earlier time and then providing you with, a light dinner due to that early start time. And it's, noted for 5 o'clock. So I ask that you please note your calendar and advise me if you have any dietary needs or restrictions that you accommodating to that. And then looking forward to making some progress with all of you as we approach that topic.
I'm sorry, could you restate the date? for the-
Sure, Monday, April 20th at 5 p.m.
Can I request that, so I have, and trustee Bachhorst, I'm sure can chime in, as the past president of the league. Whenever I go to their conferences and to the exec conferences now, they do an incredible job at outlining in a session, it's about an hour and a half, 2-hour session, but of ethics, code of conduct, and open meetings law, which I think is really important for all the new trustees as well as the old trustees and anybody in the public to understand. And so if we could combine those three, if there's no objection, I think that would be great.
We can endeavor
Or
on
yes.
those three, but it can be, I at least want to set the priority of where we're going to start, so that if we
Sure.
don't get all of them.
Sure,
We
absolutely.
could also, I've never, when we have, as a group, discussed code of conduct and code of ethics, it has never been a short conversation.
I understand, but I've been to that session with them, and there's many more than us there, and they have it down pat so well that they have in the past been able to get through all three because they're related. So, but I agree with you 100%. If you had to pick just two, the first two were fine.
And I'd be happy to bring that up with them, to see if that would be a possibility, should I kind of based on that.
I'm just wondering why we chose the league and not the State of Wisconsin Ethics Commission or the City of Milwaukee Ethics Commission. I mean, I looked on their website and I didn't really see anything about ethics on there. Like, I just don't,
Are those organizations willing to come to municipalities to provide educational sessions?
They probably could give us, I'm sure they could tell us.
They're an appointed body, though, the commission, right? And the league's duty is to
provide
resources to municipalities.
I understand what the trustee meant to
I just
say.
don't see, look, I'm looking at their website, I don't see any particular expertise in it, and why would we not go to the State Ethics Commission or the City of Milwaukee, which has an ethics commission and an ordinance and.
You make a great point. I have, like I said, I have been at the league, and they do have a very good, they do have a lot of information to offer. However, if the board felt then we wanted additional input, I totally agree that maybe getting a rep from the State Ethics Board would be beneficial if we agreed that we had the time to do that. But I do, only because I've heard that session from the league that I believe it's very valuable, but I also like the suggestion of the ethics board.
I mean, it's not the point of the league. It's not like, we have a State Ethics Commission. The league is many things. I don't know how high ethics is to the top of there.
So just to clarify, one of the reasons why the league was also consulted is because they are your insurer.
Yep.
When it comes to also liability. So as I had approached them on a number of issues that the board had requested under future items and agenda items of consideration, and said, what resources could you also provide our group to not only talk on the subject as they do through their regular conferences that they have, but also then provide that perspective as our liability carrier.
But I don't want to get into a long conversation about it, but if one of us has a conflict of interest or an ethics thing, it's not on the village, it's on us. Similarly, a code of conduct, I don't see that there's liability to the village on any, misbehavior on Facebook. So anyway, I just put that out there.
Yeah.
Let's
I think
move on.
Yep, and I think what Rebecca's referring to is, state ethics can tell us what the ethical, violations would be, because they're the ones that would prosecute or not, yes. But the code of conduct we kind of covered on social media in our communication plan, we did well together. but maybe they can help us with a process for, like President Shaw had said from the school district when she came, like, well, what do you do if it's broken? And I know you had some great ideas of process. What's the process? We don't have a committee to handle that, so maybe that's the focus.
I don't know that it's an either or.
Yeah,
It's like a great place to start, and then it can pay the man.
Oh, anything else on that, Trustee Matu?
No.
Okay. Okay, Rebecca.
Next, I've been in contact with Baker Tilly. As you recall, one of the board's initiatives was joint with the CDA, and it was to pursue strategic planning, which we ramped up to and provided a survey for members of the board to complete. And right now, there are only 2 board members who have completed that survey.
So I did it, but as the plan commission chair. Do I do it twice?
No, you should have done it under the scope of trustee. If you've done it under another committee name and we're not aware of that, please contact me tomorrow and let me know. But if not, I'm asking respectfully that you fill out the survey by Wednesday, so that we can proceed with this process, which is one that this board initiated.
What's the due date?
It was January 30th.
Wednesday.
And so I will resend the link, and I'm asking for your cooperation in completing that, so we can get that done.
Before the
It's
next
a
board
very
meeting.
simple, it's a very simple survey.
Just probably shame us on Facebook if we.
Manager's memo, it's coming right out. Thank you for that reminder, because I did not. I filled it out as plan commission
Yeah, I did
chair.
it through CDA.
Okay.
But that's okay, we should then take our hats off. I was doing it as planning, and now we can do it as a board, so I apologize. I did not realize that. And one thing I just wanted to add, that the league has these little, I'm gonna give this one to trustee Lauren, because as the public safety chair, are you public safety right now? Yes.
I'm public
Who
safety.
fills in for it was very helpful, it's duties of the village president. I think every public safety chair and new village president should be distributed one, paid for by the village. Very cheap, but I think that was incredibly helpful. And so not just the president, but the person that would step in their place in terms of guiding the meeting if they are absent. And then if we do these seminars and we pay or a fee, if we could get a written something, because eventually we need to update our, hi, you're a new trustee, your new board member, here's some information, concise information. So anytime we do anything with the league, I think if we could get something documented too, we could combine those and make a welcome package, which would be very helpful. Okay, sorry for that long-winded thing. Anyone else have reports? If not, we'll take items for future consideration. Trustee Carpenter.
So kind of in light of the development on Wilson, I would like for us to have on a future agenda item. Looking
Oh, you're gonna make a motion, because you didn't list it, so you're gonna make a motion to.
Yes, so I moved this discussion regarding DRB design requirements in relation to their housing and development to be the aesthetic review. I don't know if that's the right way to say that.
The guideline?
So I think I can help
Yeah.
you since we talked about it.
So I'd heard from the aesthetics of our community is something that is our
We
community
have
is
to make
very
the motion.
passionate
We
about.
have to make a motion and a second in order to be able to discuss.
Okay, so,
Yes, we do, because it's not on the agenda, under future agendas. So we just make a motion, a second, we discuss, and we decide.
so I move to discuss DRB requirements for,
Guidelines?
DRB guidelines for.
Design guidelines,
Design guidelines for new
residential.
new
and-
residential buildings.
Perfect. I'll second that. And now we can have discussion. I apologize, that's just the process.
And then can I just sort of explain my
Yes,
reasoning
absolutely.
behind that? So just
I didn't have
with this new development on Wilson, just being very contemporary looking, I would like to understand if there's some guidelines that we could work with DRB to help make more of an aesthetic that feels more charming and more appropriate to our 100+ year village.
And
where would that go, or?
So-
How would you have that discussion?
and so we would have.
I know that the DRB guidelines were just, I don't know if they were ever approved, but
I
they've
can-
been working on it.
I can clarify, because I was on that committee for the design, residential design guidelines, and they died. Because they got very detailed and very onerous with a lot of architects, being very specific, and so it never got to the village board. So I think what Trustee Carpenter is suggesting is to see the sentiment of the board. What kind of, we're gonna be doing, we just did a housing study. So we know we're gonna be looking at housing, and there's gonna be some rehabilitation and new housing, and in areas of our village, what is the type of design that fits? Is it modern, is it anything, is it, and the board might say it's anything, but just to have that discussion of, is there a sentiment about design for residential development?
That's a big
That's,
can of worms.
It's not about specifics, it's just simply, so anyways, I seconded it. I think that it's worth discussing,
I think it's a worthwhile discussion.
because, and then just, Trustee McKay, if the board came to consensus on something that would be relayed to DRB, then it doesn't necessarily have to be documented, it would just be a relayance, could be a memo or something like that, just so that they have an understanding of what this board feels based on community input.
Isn't it supposed to be kind of also the other way around? That they're the advisory board?
Sure, but we can always issue a memo of, I mean, we're elected, and so,
Okay.
otherwise,
I go out to a community survey on that, if we wanted this board to determine what the design.
no, it's
But anyway,
not determining,
fine.
we're just giving sentiment. And we would do that to the plan commission, I mean, we would do that to any of our commissions if we, as a board, discussed and had some input to provide.
Fine, let's just go.
Well, I would say, I don't want to discuss a whole lot tonight, but I would say since the DRB is a quasi-judicial body, then I would look for consistency about procedure about how that would happen. But to your sentiment, I think I understand why you're raising it. I probably won't be on the board to enjoy it with you, but good luck.
Just one question for Nathan then, over process, just before we vote, to put it on the agenda, is it out of line to, I truly am asking.
I don't want him to respond now, I just want.
Well, I'm asking, but I'm asking him, would it be inappropriate to send comments to a quasi-jurisdictional body?
which body?
Design review board, plan commission, anything that's kind of quasi.
I still understand what.
That's why I was recommending that we.
Okay,
The design guidelines are approved by the board and issued, because that's.
we have commercial design guidelines, we do not have residential.
Is this a commercial building or a residential? It's a multi-family.
It's residential.
It's residential.
All right, can we call the question or something?
She specifically made her motion to talk about residential design. Okay, did you ask to call the question?
Yes, please.
All right, the question has been called, so we'll immediately go to a vote. All those in favor of ending discussion and calling the question, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So the motion is,
To review design and review board design, to review DRB design requirements and guidelines for new residential buildings.
to discuss, I don't know if it's review because they don't have any, so I would say to discuss.
Well, she made the motion.
I'm asking